Hey everyone, it's Raf. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am very excited to be talking through some of the new releases that we have seen come out in the first half of 2021. Seeing that it is July, I think it is a perfect time to talk through some of the books that came out earlier this year that have interested me and that are sitting on my bookshelf waiting to be read. I have a gigantic stack of books, so let us get straight into it. The first book in my stack is Fake Accounts by Lauren Oliver. This is a fiction story following the inauguration of Donald Trump and our main character who finds out that her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend is actually a secret internet conspiracy theorist. And so this is basically a conversation about fiction and reality in the internet age. It's kind of humorous, but it's also kind of scarily relevant. I'm very excited to give this a read. Next up, we have A Room Called Earth by Madeline Ryan. This is an Australian author actually, and it follows the story of a neurodiverse protagonist who goes to a party. So this entire book is set over the course of one night, I believe, and it explores through our protagonist's unique lens the experience of human connection and love and passion. It's been described as really witty, really funny, and really endearing, I believe. And it's a story of self-acceptance and understanding what it means to be human beneath labels. So this sounds like a read that I am very interested in. I haven't heard of anything like this before, and also I love this cover, so I will be sure to pick this up soon and let you know my thoughts. Next we have a memoir called Milk-Fed by Melissa Broder. I don't know too much about this or about the author, but I do know it is about her experience with an eating disorder, and it is a kind of intersection of her Jewish faith and her kind of religious, very intense approach to food and eating and health, and how one kind of helped her escape the other. This does sound interesting, but I'm not super drawn to memoirs by authors that I don't follow or have an interest in their life. And so this might be one that I pick up after I do a bit of research on Melissa Broder, but it is one I'm glad to have on my shelf nonetheless. The next book in this stack has been raved about. It is the Reese Witherspoon book club pick for one of the months this year, and that is His Only Wife by Peace Adzomedi. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, I apologize if I did not, but this book follows the story of a young woman in Ghana whose life is changed when she's offered a proposal of marriage by a wealthy family in Ghana. This is described as a comedy of manners in her search for independence, but also trying to manage the expectations of being a wife, a sister-in-law, a daughter, trying to support her family, etc. Again, I've only heard fantastic things about this book, so I am very excited to pick it up this year. The next book is actually one that I've already read this year, and that is The Divines by Ellie Eaton. You can check out my thoughts on this book in my reading vlog, which I'll have linked down below or on the screen somewhere. But this basically follows the story of our protagonist who is reflecting on her days at an all-girls, very wealthy, prestigious boarding school in England. This dives into the terrible mental impact and the post-traumatic stress disorder that actually comes with existing in such a toxic environment. I had never considered that environment in the way that this book explores it before, and so it was a really eye-opening, really thought-provoking book. I'm actually really excited to discuss this one with my book club. I think especially as female readers, it will be interesting to unpack the way Ellie Eaton looks at sexual assault and female identity and female relationships. Highly recommend this one. It was a thought-provoking read. Next up is another book I have already read and loved, and this one is actually a YA fantasy by an Australian author, and that is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This book follows our protagonist as her narrative intertwines with that of the rebel queen who has been causing a lot of turmoil and stress among the kingdom. I am a sucker for a cliche YA. This was a cliche YA, but it had some brilliant twists. It had me emotionally invested. I would highly recommend this one, and I am so excited for the second in this series that is coming out at the end of this year. The next book is a really fun sounding one. I think it's one that I'm going to pick up very soon, and that is Driving Steve Fracasso by Barry Devola. The protagonist of this story is a music journalist whose life goes to absolute shit when he loses his job, his apartment, and his long-term girlfriend all in the same day. But then he gets a call saying he's been commissioned to write the story of an ex-rock star, and that ex-rock star ends up being his brother who he has not spoken to in 30 years. So this book follows the story of our protagonist driving to meet his brother and hopefully to get his life back on track. The next book we've got is New Animal by Ella Baxter, and this novel is similar to the last one in that it is described as deadpan and funny and witty, but also about self-reflection and self-improvement as well. Our protagonist in this book works at her father's mortuary business. She's a cosmetician there, and she feels like her job is getting in the way of her emotional connections and her social life. When her mother and her boyfriend experience something very traumatic, she's led to feel like running away is her only option. It is the intervention of her two fathers and also encounters that our protagonist has in a Tasmanian BDSM club that helps her get her life back on track. So this one sounds really funny, really interesting, and very unique. Next up is a book that will satisfy all of my historical fiction needs, and that is A Net for Small Fishes by Lucy Jago. This book is set in the Jacobean court of England, and it follows the story of a noblewoman and a peasant woman who work together to try and seek independence from a life that is constraining them both. Next up is a book involving time travel, which has me very intrigued, and that is Space Hopper by Helen Fisher. This follows the story of a mother who loves her children very much. She wants to have the relationship with her daughters that she never got to have with her mother. But then one day she finds herself transported back to 1977, the year before her mother passes away. So she is given the opportunity to reconnect with her mother and to also meet her childhood self. This does give me Back to the Future vibes, but it also sounds very sweet and also emotionally gripping. And the last book on my list is a YA sci-fi that also involves some warping of time, and that is Waking Romeo by Catherine Barker. This actually is intersecting the two classic stories of Romeo and Juliet and Wuthering Heights. We follow the story of Juliet, who is dealing with the consequences of Romeo having died and her becoming a social outcast. One day she gets a visit from a time traveller who is actually Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, and he is tasked with the mission of reclaiming Romeo and Juliet's love by waking up Romeo. This sounds so original. I am so keen to give this one a read. And that brings me to the end of my list of new releases in 2021 for the first half of the year. I hope you found this interesting and gives you some ideas of what to read next. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!